Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Hybrid Cloud Data Management and Protection. This event is brought to you by Veeam and NetApp and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is David Davis of Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for today's event. Now, before I introduce you to today's expert presenters, just a few things that you should know about the console. On the left-hand side, just to the left of the slides window, you have the Handouts tab. In the Handouts tab, you'll find a number of resources that are available for you to download, including today's slide deck, the IDC white paper on the Veeam and NetApp solution, and a link to the Veeam NetApp trial that you want to check out. You can go ahead and click on those now and download those, and the Veeam trial will specifically open up a link in your or a tab in your browser. So make sure that you check those out. Also, just to the right of the handout section, you see the word questions. If you click on that, that's where you want to ask your questions about today's topic. We welcome all the wonderful comments coming in already. Thank you everyone for those. But as you think of questions throughout the presentation on Veeam and data protection and disaster recovery and storage and challenges that you're facing in your organization around data and storage management, bring those questions, place them there in the questions box, and we'll be doing a dedicated Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. And then, let's see, lastly, I want to remind everyone that we'll be announcing the winner of today's prize at the end of the presentation. That is for an Amazon $300 gift card. If you're watching this event on demand, I'm sorry, the drawing has already occurred. The full price terms and conditions can be found at events.actualtechmedia.com, which is a link as well in the Handouts tab. And with that, I'm excited to introduce you to today's presenters. They are Mr. Adam Berg, Global NetApp Alliance Architect at Veeam, and Mr. Kevin Hascote, Solutions Architect at NetApp. Adam, why don't you take it away and tell us a little bit about why we're here today?
Great. Thank you so much, David. So welcome again, everyone. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us today. My name is Adam Berg. I am one of Veeam's Global Alliance Architects for NetApp Solutions here at Veeam Software. So what I do here at Veeam is I specifically work to enhance the capabilities of Veeam Software and NetApp Solutions and our integrations and joint capabilities together. And today we're going to be diving into the value of your data and digital transformation and how we take your data and make it more valuable to your organizations by leveraging hybrid and multi-cloud strategies, how we can reduce risk and complexity and cost while we're doing that, and creating new levels of visibility and control with your data using Veeam and NetApp technologies. And it's really all about activating and unlocking new business value for your data. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll get right into it.
You gotta love this. Hey, Kevin Hascote here. Thanks for joining, folks. We thought we'd start things off with a little bit of a funny. I mean, this is one of those things we think about this. Think of just a few months ago. Digital transformation. It means so many different things. How many of us saw this coming? Digital transformation is now on the forethought of a lot more people nowadays. That being said, when we think about it, it really is data is at the heart of digital transformation. Why is that? What is it? What does it mean? Well, I'll tell you what. Digital transformation can mean so many different things, but reality is there's 4 critical components, and research is going to suggest that speed is the new scale. Well, and today, disruption is going to come from speed. I'll give you an example. The faster you innovate and then re-innovate, the more competitive advantage your companies are going to have. They're going to drive. Digital transformations also, it requires IT transformation. Think about it, legacy IT. Think about the way things were done, architecture back in the day. Architecture was built for scale more than it was for speed. Now data, it happens at the speed of data. Now to accept that, folks are going to have to live in a hybrid environment. You've got traditional data centers, you've got private clouds, public clouds. Think about how many times you hear the word cloud and how many times you hear the word data just in a simple IT conversation. It doesn't even have to be IT. It can be any conversation out there. But the fact of the matter is, as a result, data is going to be created, it's going to get consumed, it's going to get managed, it could be in multiple environments. All to say, in order to successfully manage that, you've got to basically take it and turn it into a competitive advantage. How do you do that? Well, you start moving away from data centers, you start looking at data fabrics, you start looking at doing things more seamlessly. You move it, you manage it, you protect it, you orchestrate it, you move it all across your infrastructure. But it doesn't stop there. Think about it. We also have changed how we create the data. At the same time, at the heart of that digital transformation, how we generate is going to change. Whether it's things you use every day, whether it's cloud or your phones. Think about it. Vehicles today, autonomous vehicles, they create hundreds of gigs, if not terabytes of data. Think about airplanes. When they fly, we don't see as many of them out there today as we did before. But every plane is generating terabytes of data per flight. And we continue to hear things like data is the new currency or data is the new gold. Things like data's value. Well, when you think about it, from my perspective, I'll take it a step further. Data is life. We've all seen this sick map. We've all seen Johns Hopkins map. And if you think about it, take an example of this to me is a perfect example of a global digital transformation. Think about hospitals, ERs, doctor's offices, clinics, operating rooms, nurses, EMTs, all this data being generated, not just in a couple of cities across America. This is global. Think about all that data has to be generated, has to be managed, has to be orchestrated. All those different sources. The reality is data is the lifeblood of business. As we noted previously, it's created by all those different resources, but it needs to be organized and orchestrated in order to extract the value in it. Now, it's got to be accessible too. You've got to have ways that you can get to it. It's going to require you to fulfill the function. At the same time, everyone that needs access to the data should have access to the data. But at the same time, you also want to make sure those that you don't want to have access don't. So it's all about that security and privacy piece too. Now, it's not just the fact that we have data being created all over or being moved all over. Reality is it doesn't stop there. It's one thing to have the data, but in order to achieve its real value, you have to have the right data in the right place, the right time. And we also want to be able to do this without breaking the bank, right? So think about it this way. You're on an operating table. You're in the middle of open heart surgery. Doc is going to pull up the video to look at your heart cath just to confirm what they need to do. And instead, a silly cat video comes out. Or worse than that, error file not found. Middle of an OR. See what I mean when I say data is life? There's a reason for that. It really is. We are reliant upon data in just about everything we do today. So, what does that mean from a strategy and strategy and vision? Well, let's face it. You need to be able to get to the data, whether it's edge, core, cloud, all the above. And that's where I'd like to introduce you to a concept that we call the data fabric. Now, hopefully everybody has heard about the data fabric and knows exactly what it is. But the fact of the matter is we introduced the data fabric a few years ago. And ever since we've been working across all the different layers of architecture. Initially, we focused on connections and endpoints, but we also quickly saw that the opportunity was going to be to expand the ecosystem and provide freedom of choice to our customers, not locking them into specific decisions. Now, how we went about this was unprecedented. We embraced both public and private cloud providers for the purpose of enabling customers to choose their provider based on their needs, rather than backing them into the corner and saying, thou shalt work with X, Y, or Z. Now, what did we do? We partnered with Veeam in order to advance these data fabric capabilities. Now, this gives you the ability to have your data where you need it, when you need it, how you need it, with as many copies as you need, and secure them as you prescribe. Now, how do we pull this off? Well, think about it. This is what happens when you take industry leaders. Now, you look at what NetApp has. We've got the world's #1 storage OS. We've got #1 in all flash arrays, #1 in storage. You pair that up with the industry leader like Veeam. Sky is the limit.
Yeah, and with Veeam and NetApp solutions, you're truly taking two world-class industry leaders and joining them together to create a combined solution. And that's what we're going to be talking today. What does that mean from a real world perspective? What does best of breed data protection, data management, data orchestration mean when you join two Gartner Magic Quadrant leaders together? We have this messaging around taking two technologies, two leaders in our industries, and partnering them together to actually create a better together story where we can actually create solutions that we couldn't jointly do together or jointly bring to the market together, and craft real world solutions for you that we'll certainly get into a little bit further in the next couple slides. So, of course, this better together story is really about solving customer pains and achieving business outcomes. So one of the customer pains that we've set out to tackle is, of course, data dependency. Now, we don't just look at data in isolation, data by itself. Data is interdependent with different applications, with different localities of where the data needs to be. And business outcomes that we are bringing together around data-driven enterprises. Resource constraints, right? Constraints around what you might have on premises, what you might have from a hybrid cloud or a self-managed cloud. While we jointly allow for things like enhanced resource management, moving data where you need that data, when you need that data. One example would be what we call cloud bursting, moving data from on-prem up into the public cloud where we can rapidly take advantage of on-demand resources. Or the reverse is true. Resource management moving the other direction, true data flow for a data fabric. And then, of course, reducing complexity. We're going to be talking about some really tricky, complex architectures. And how do we reduce that complexity? How do we take this data flow and reduce it to something that's easily consumable and easily digestible? Great technology is not valuable unless it's consumable, unless we reduce complexity. And the core of everything that Veeam and NetApp are doing together is to make this technology simple and consumable for you. So, of course, Veeam itself, if you don't know Veeam, you may know Veeam as this little backup company. That's not who we are anymore. We've got a full cloud data management platform that stretches from, of course, monitoring and analytics, data orchestration, of course, our industry-leading backup and replication technologies, all wrapped in universal APIs. But we're stretching our platform across cloud and virtual and physical and software as a service platforms, all encompassing data management strategy from, of course, not only just backup and intelligent recovery, being able to protect data wherever it resides, whether that's in a virtual environment or physical, or in a software as a service platform, or maybe it's cloud native, right? That is, of course, the core tenet of what Veeam brings to the market. But we bring technologies like cloud mobility, true data fabric capabilities for your data, wrapping all of that in monitoring and analytics, knowing where your data is and how your data is working for you, right? Complete business intelligence for your data, with orchestration and automation, allowing for the data to move without human intervention, or complete business continuity operations for your data. And then wrapping all of that, and of course, in governance and compliance, right? Different areas of the globe now have different data regulations, different data governance and compliance regulations. And being a truly global company, and data is global today, you need to have that core capability as a core tenet of your data management solutions. So let's talk about Veeam and NetApp though together. And what does that mean? And why are these two industry-leading companies joining forces to craft unique capabilities that can't be found in any other partnership, in any other technology alliance in the marketplace today? I just like showing this one slide because I want to show that this partnership history between Veeam and NetApp is not a new one. This isn't something that we just came up with yesterday. Hey, we should go and do some joint marketing together. No, this is real technology innovation jointly together. Back in 2014 is when we started doing joint development work together, and every year, like clockwork, we're releasing new joint capabilities, new joint innovations, whether that's our initial integrations into NetApp's leading storage operating system called Data ONTAP back in 2015, and extending those capabilities in 2016, and then 2017 and 2018, increasing our capabilities into NetApp's SolidFire and NetApp HCI platforms from an integration standpoint, and NetApp Storage Grid from an S3 object storage capability. And in 2020, we've got capabilities around unstructured data, fully integrated capabilities there. And I've got a special announcement for a brand new business continuity capability that's going to be launching here very shortly with direct joint integrated technology. So this is a deep ongoing relationship that's just continuing to accelerate. And it's all about this vision, like Kevin said, the vision of the data fabric. The data fabric isn't something that you buy. You don't go to NetApp and Veeam and say, I want to buy one data fabric, please. No, this is a philosophy around the free flow of data to your consumer, to your customer, to your internal users of this data that allows them to extract more value from this data. So whether that data is most valuable in the public cloud as a cloud native application, or if it's more valuable as an on-prem native virtualized workload, or it's pushed out to the edge, the data flow and conversion of data is what this data fabric vision is all about. And it's not something that any one organization can deliver on their own. It takes joint best-of-breed companies coming together to solve the gaps in the data flow orchestration layer of where your data needs to be. So let's talk about a few tangible applications of the data fabric. And when I talk about the data fabric, I like to use these concepts of to, from, and within the cloud, of how we can move data around, and what are some practical applications that we are delivering together with NetApp for the data fabric. So to the cloud, what do we mean by to the cloud? So one practical application of the data fabric is of course cloud backup, eliminating legacy tape-like architectures and using and leveraging cloud S3 storage, S3 target storage in the public cloud for a backup repository. So this is a simple application of moving data from on-prem up into the cloud, where you might find, something that we like to coin as infinite storage. There's always more storage available to us on demand. I don't need to pre-purchase cloud-based storage. I just consume and pay for what I consume up there, with really no retention requirements or no time requirements for that data up there. Leveraging the cloud as a disaster recovery. It used to be extremely costly to run mirrored data centers for disaster recovery business continuity sites. Now we can leverage the cloud. So gone other requirements that I need to have like for like hardware running in a mirrored data center for the insurance policy of disaster recovery. Now I can leverage on-demand resources in the public cloud or a cloud hosted facility as a disaster recovery location. I can only spin up and pay for compute resources, for example, when I am actually having a true disaster or business continuity event that I need to fail over to. From the cloud, so concept of moving data away from the cloud and back on-prem. So software as a service platforms. So I know most of you, or any of you, you probably all are using some software as a service technology. So the biggest example here is Office 365. So you may or may not be aware, but your data isn't being backed up by Microsoft if you're an Office 365 customer. Read your agreement. They do not provide a backup service. They might provide what's akin to a 2-week recycle bin for your data, but that is not a true backup. So for example, we can actually do software as a service, Office 365 data protection back on premises And that data could even be restored back to an on-prem type infrastructure as well. So there's a true flow from a software as a service back to an on-prem from a data protection standpoint. Infrastructure as a service data protection. So think cloud native workloads. Think of native applications deployed in Azure or AWS as native infrastructure. The ability to not only protect this data as it resides in cloud native formats, but also redirect those applications back on-prem, so from the cloud. So one popular example of this would be dev test in the cloud, leveraging public cloud resources for dev test, but production may be in your local or on-prem data center. This is a real good practical implementation of the data fabric, moving data from the cloud or cloud native into something like a VMware data format back on-prem. And within the cloud, so cloud to cloud or multi-cloud strategies. If you've got a large presence in a cloud and you're leveraging just a single cloud, you might be giving yourself potentially a large area where there could be some data availability gaps. So business continuity between clouds is a real thing and something that you should be seriously considering. So doing business continuity between multiple clouds really closes a lot of the gaps when you can have potentially regional outages for specific clouds. So think of something like leveraging AWS and Azure as business continuity failover domains, and having capabilities and technology partners that allow for the free conversion of data, the free movement of data from site to site is a key capability for within the cloud. And then cross-cloud backup. So not only business continuity, but leveraging backup technologies where maybe my primary data is in one cloud and I'm leveraging the object storage or blob storage capabilities in the other cloud as the data retention, otherwise known as not putting all my eggs in one basket, right? Using multiple clouds for my cloud backup and being able to potentially recover that data in a different cloud with the complete data conversion built in as a capability is a key within the cloud capability here. So what do you need to leverage, or what do you need in your solutions? And what does Veeam bring to the table? And it's full NetApp integrations into the world-class, world-leading data solutions that NetApp brings to the market. So Veeam has deep native integrations into their ONTAP and HCI platforms that, of course, can be on-prem or cloud native, and those integrations extend across physical, virtual, and cloud native data management solutions there, of course. And it's all about accelerating your data protection, accelerating data movement using native technologies from NetApp, bringing lower RPOs, of course, and lower RTOs, bringing that data online and useful as fast as possible, right? We jointly are delivering unique capabilities that no other data management and data protection solutions can do. So what are some of those core integrations? So here's just a quick highlight of the integrations that we're delivering today with NetApp in Veeam's core backup and replication product. So of course, NAS or unstructured file backup, it supports all the major NAS protocols, including SMB and NFS. Backing up from storage snapshot technology with accelerated high-speed incremental forever data protection technology, but also high-speed, very high parallel restore and recovery and granular recovery capabilities from an integrated standpoint. We've got technology that we call backup from storage snapshot. So backup from storage snapshot is the ability to actually do an integrated data protection backup from a NetApp storage platform where we're talking directly on the highest speed data network. That's typically your storage network. That might be fiber channel or your dedicated iSCSI or NFS networks for data protection. But the advantage of something like data storage snapshot is not only the performance, but it is the impact, or should I say the lack of impact, that data protection has on your primary applications and infrastructure. So we actually minimize this, and with our ability to do what we call backup from a replica or backup from a SnapMirror or Snap Vault technology, if you've heard of those NetApp replication technology, we can actually reduce the cost from a performance standpoint on your primary applications to near zero from a data protection standpoint. So key capabilities. Snapshot orchestration, the ability to create application aware, and this is the key capability here, application aware, application consistent snapshots of your enterprise grade applications. So it's not good enough just to say I've protected this data. You need to have verifiable, consistent copies of your data. And taking snapshots on hardware is an ability to increase the protection points that you have and the guaranteed recoverability of your data. So having Veeam orchestrate NetApp snapshot technology with the coordinated application consistency in those snapshots is something that's very, very critical. Protecting your data is great, but we really make a living here with the speed and granularity of our recovery. So recovering of data through Veeam's patented Explorer technology, we're able to recover all your granular application items, your granular file level capabilities directly from not only traditional backups and replicas, but also directly from hardware-based snapshots in NetApp's ONTAP and Element storage operating systems. And then something that's what we call leveraging your data to create more business value. So we call this Veeam Data Labs. So Veeam Data Labs is the ability to actually, on demand, create a virtual lab based on your production data, protected behind a virtual router that Veeam provisions in your environment. So think of being able to present your developers with a full suite of applications that they can do dev test against that consists of up to the minute replica of their your production database, right? So they can actually develop against up to the minute copies of your production data that are instantly provisioned and protected behind a virtual router. But there's a lot of uses for Veeam Data Labs, such as patch testing. It could be employee training. It could be running analytic workloads, right? I want to run analytics behind a copy of my up to the minute data, and I don't want to have that analytics workload hammering on my production copies of my data. Use Veeam Data Labs for such a technology, and this is a core capability that's built in that we're jointly delivering with NetApp. Much more though. You need to have applications that are ready for solutions that are ready for cloud native, right? Maybe you all listening today aren't fully cloud native or don't have a lot of cloud native workloads, but the reality of it is that you will at some point. And you need to have future-proofed today, ready for capabilities in your hardware, software, and your data management, your data protection, and your data orchestration tools that are ready for cloud native workloads. So cloud native, really means born in the cloud applications, but applications that potentially you want to make sure that you're protecting those applications, but also being able to move between clouds, something that's multi-cloud and hybrid cloud ready from a cloud native capability. And Veeam and NetApp are delivering on both those fronts. We're ready for today's workloads and tomorrow's workloads that are cloud native. So what are we delivering here from a cloud native capability? We've got capabilities today that we call direct restore to AWS and Azure. So anything that you protect on-prem, whether it might be from a physical workload, a virtualized workload like from VMware or Microsoft Hyper-V, we have the ability to directly take that data and put it into native AWS and Azure formats. So this is a capability that we call cloud mobility, the ability to move that data directly to AWS and Azure. But not only that, being able to move the data directly from Azure and AWS back on-prem if needed. A cloud tier capability. This is the ability to use the cloud as unlimited long-term retention, complete tape replacement, if you will, using the power of the scalability of not only Amazon S3 Azure Blob, but NetApp's own storage grid S3 geo-distributed S3 on-prem technology, as well as fully supported. Of course, software as a service, data protection, such as Office 365. You can leverage any cloud native S3 or Azure Blob. So, you could actually protect your Office 365 not only in Azure, but also Amazon S3, but also supported, of course, is an on-prem solution like NetApp's Storage Grid solution is also supported if you want to leverage bringing your software as a service data protection back on-prem as well. And then we've, completely native cloud ready in the cloud marketplaces versions of Veeam for AWS and Microsoft Azure. You want to make sure that you've got cloud ready, cloud native capabilities there from day one, and Veeam and NetApp are delivering that together. Okay, but you're probably thinking, yeah, all this capability is expensive. No, right? So everything has to be cost effective. We have to be able to deliver consumable capabilities that are affordable, that deliver greater cost control, optimization, and retention for your data with completely flexible licensing choices. So we can actually, you're actually going to want to use and consume these capabilities. So things like all-in licensing, right? Buying a single, what we call a virtual workload license for Veeam that covers any data, whether it's on-prem, physical, virtual, in the cloud, a single license covering all capabilities. Wherever that data moves, you're protected under a single license. So these are the technologies and consumability that Veeam and NetApp are bringing to the marketplace with our flexible licensing options. And I couldn't sit here and talk about all of these capabilities without talking about security. Adding complete security for your data is paramount to any solution, whether that is full encryption at rest, whether that's full encryption over the wire, multi-factor authentication, immutability of data, being able to actually guarantee that data cannot be deleted or modified by even your core administrators, even with the administrators that have the highest level of access within your organization. Veeam and NetApp can guarantee that that data is immutable, either through what we call NetApp SnapLock technology or object lock technology in the cloud, actually putting a immutable flag on all data as it resides in the cloud so that the data cannot be changed or modified by any malware, any internal or external bad actor. All data is secured from all aspects. So that's all just built in and super easy to consume. We're talking about click a check mark here to make your data immutable, kind of ease of use from a security standpoint. So here's just one architecture that I like to show here just to kind of make this tangible from what we're talking about from a product perspective. This is a common architecture that we see in a lot of on-prem organizations that are buying NetApp storage today. They've got their primary ONTAP systems, whether that be all-flash FAS or hybrid FAS arrays, and replicating between a secondary ONTAP FAS. Veeam is orchestrating and managing all of this data as it flows between ONTAP systems, protected potentially onto a NetApp E-series long-term retention storage, and then leveraging that data to be pushed into long-term storage or cloud mobility up into AWS, Azure, or NetApp Storage Grid technology. So this is just one architecture that we like to promote that sort of gives you a tangible reality of what some companies are using Veeam and NetApp for. And the last thing that I want to talk about is a brand new launch that's coming in June 2020. So this is just next month. Veeam Availability Orchestrator V3. So Veeam Availability Orchestrator, if you've never heard of this, is a complete disaster recovery and business continuity orchestration utility. So if you're not using a tool to do disaster recovery orchestration and business continuity orchestration, you probably have a large gap in your business continuity planning for your organization. You really need a tool that provides simplicity and fully validated DR plans for your organization. So what this tool can do for you is actually orchestrate and plan a complete failover from one data center to the other, whether that data center be a self-owned and managed data center, something in a service provider data center, or even the public cloud. Veeam Availability Orchestrator allows you to build these plans, test these plans, spit out custom reports that's saying that, yes, your DR plans are being tested, allow you to test your plans in the middle of the day, to assure compliance of this. And Veeam Availability Orchestrator v3 is completely integrated now when this launches in June into using the best of breed NetApp replication, hardware-based replication in the industry called SnapMirror. So this is something that we're really, really super excited about that's coming in June, going to be officially launched at Veeam's Vmon conference. So if you weren't aware, Veeam's annual conference called Vmon has moved virtual for obvious reasons, and it is June 17th and 18th, completely free. And this would be more than your typical joining and listening into some pre-recorded webinars. It's going to be much, much more than that. So please visit Vmon, our website, sign up and take a look at the content that we're planning on presenting there. Of course, NetApp will be presenting content. We're going to have a lot of announcements and super secret things that we're going to be launching at Vmon next month in June. So I very, very much hope you join us for that event as well. Completely free, of course. So please join us for Vmon 2020 in June. So thank you all for joining us today. You can see our joint veeam.com link here, and we'll get to some of your questions.
Excellent. Great presentation, Adam and Kevin. Thank you. Let's see. We do have some questions coming in from the audience. Before we do that, I want to remind everyone that the link that you see on the screen there is clickable. If you mouse over that link, you can actually click on it and it will open a new tab in your browser. Of course, there's the QR code there too, if you want to use the QR code. And then finally, that link that's on the screen, we've actually got in the handouts tab. That's the Veeam trial link. So it will be there when we go to the poll question here in just a moment. So get your questions in now. If you have questions about today's presentation, it's time for some Q&A. See, first question that came in, they're asking is, do you have any suggestions on balancing data security and cost? Stuart says that he feels that security is or can be a bottomless pit when it comes to investment. Any suggestions there, Adam or Kevin?
So I'll comment on one here, and then I'll pass it over to Kevin for his take on it. But so you shouldn't be purchasing or investing in any technology that doesn't take security of your data as a primary key feature. It shouldn't be an add-on, in other words, and you shouldn't pay extra for data security. It should be a core tenet of the technologies that you buy, and it should be a key differentiator in the products that you're looking at. And it should be something as easy as, do you want to encrypt over the wire? Check this box. If you want to encrypt at rest, we'll check this box. If you want to make your data immutable, check this box. So that's, for Veeam, it's never an add-on to protect and secure your data. It's built in and baked into the product for a single cost. And we make it easy and consumable to secure your data wherever it resides, whether it's on-prem in the cloud or if it's an S3, if it's on traditional tier storage. It's easy to consume. Thoughts on that one, Kevin?
I would say I would second it. It should be in there, and at the same time, it should be native. It should be simple. Simple is key. I think that's a recurring function nowadays is simplicity. So and it's bundled in there. It's part of the native OS within ONTAP. So
yeah, and just from looking at a technology alignment perspective, as data resides on your primary footprint, I know with ONTAP, it's literally as easy as checkmarking your data to encrypt this data at rest. And in Veeam, it's very much the same way, right? So these are capabilities that you're not paying extra for, and they're extremely consumable from a data security standpoint. But encryption is just one tier of data security and data protection. And if you want to see more about this, Veeam, and I've been doing some of these lately myself, we've got full on-demand ransomware webinars where we talk about all the layers of access that you should be thinking about from a security standpoint when it comes in regards of ransomware. How does it get into your network? How do we protect your data? How do we harden your data in your network to protect against ransomware, but also internal bad actors as well.
Okay. Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
I like that. Security should be included, not a bolt-on feature. So, good advice. Another question here. They're asking, how does Veeam's data portability can it help me move my data between clouds? Is that possible?
So the way we call our ability to move data between clouds cloud mobility. So I can't speak to Combinario because I don't know anything about them, to be honest with you. Maybe Kevin can comment there. But we put our data into a portable data format. So that's sort of one of the benefits of Veeam is we've crafted a portable data container that allows us to convert and transmit that data from a variety of platforms and infrastructures. So once your data is into Veeam's format, we can take, for example, data that came from a physical server and restore that back into VMware or Hyper-V, or take that data from a physical server and move it right to the cloud, or take data from the cloud and move it right back into VMware. We've got our proprietary technology that makes that possible and very, very easy and very simple. And of course, no extra costs, right? It's an all-in. You pay for a workload with Veeam, and wherever that data resides or gets converted to, it's a single cost per workload. So very, very easy to license and understand how we charge for these capabilities.
Okay, excellent. There's another question from Nick about when it comes to making data immutable, is there any performance impact or disadvantage to having it enabled? And if not, why is it not enabled by default?
So good question. So why is it not enabled by default? So there is some cost. Not everything is free in life here, but the real cost comes in making your data immutable, is that you probably end up consuming more cloud storage when you make your data immutable, at least when you're using object lock API capabilities supported by AWS S3. So you'll probably end up consuming more storage up in Amazon with that enabled. So that's you don't get charged anything extra from Veeam or NetApp in this particular case, but your cloud storage provider will probably charge you a bit extra for the data that's immutable and unchangeable when it's up in the cloud. But it's easy. So basically, the way you enable this feature in Veeam is you checkbox that says make this data immutable, and then you select for how long. So you select I want to make this data immutable for 30 days, and it checkmarks, and it just happens. So that data, when it goes up into your cloud tier, can literally not be changed, removed, or deleted by anybody. Not even Amazon, because that's how locked in this data is. So it's completely up to you on how you want to enable that immutable data based on your data retention policies. But just understand that the cost from the cloud provider in this particular case is up to you.
Okay. Hey, Adam, one of the other things that we look at when it comes to immutability, we kind of look at it like synchronous replication as well. Just because you can do it doesn't always mean that you should. Not all data should be immutable. In other words, sometimes, yes, you do need that year, 7-year, 30-year retention, and you don't want it to be messed with. But we also don't want, say, a 3 terabyte development database to be immutable for 30 years.
Yeah, certainly. So that's why we make it flexible based on policy, right? So you can select which data you want, your most critical data that I need to make sure that this data is absolutely immutable, and others, because you may need to do some cost calculations just on the storage utilization overall that you can use. And Veeam is there to help you calculate those costs if need be.
Okay, excellent insight there. A lot of things to think about. Next question comes from Bill. He's asking, how is backing up Office 365? Are there any limitations to be aware of?
Well, how is it? It's easy. It's super easy with the technology. Again, we try to make all these complex sort of designs and data protection initiatives that you might have very easy and consumable. So when we're talking about Office 365 data, there's much more than just, say, your email. You got OneDrive, all of the files that are in there. We also are able to protect things in Microsoft Teams. I know Microsoft Teams is extremely popular these days, and there's a lot of data in there as well. That's all encompassing when we talk about Office 365 and also things like SharePoint, right? Very easy consumable. I would just do a quick Google if you would, if you wanted to see the application in action, see how easy it is. Just Google Veeam in Office 365 data protection as well, and to take a look at that to find out more information.
Excellent. I like easy.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, not a lot of limitations either. So I can't really think of any sort of limitations offhand.
Okay. And then there's another question here about the Veeam and NetApp integrations. Are those an extra cost either from the NetApp side or the Veeam side? Or if you have NetApp and you have Veeam, these products are just going to work together?
So again, simple, easy licensing models. You buy what's called a Veeam Universal license. You get everything. You get all capabilities, all included. No hidden costs. So a Veeam Universal license, you license per workload, whether that workload is physical, on-prem, cloud native, even if it's NAS or unstructured data. A Veeam Universal license covers that all. You get all capabilities, no hidden costs, no extra fees to jump out at you later on when you say, hey, I really want that capability. Now I have to go back to the well. That doesn't exist. So we want to make it easy for you.
Okay.
It just works.
Yep.
I like that. And then if somebody doesn't have Veeam or NetApp today and they're interested in this solution, maybe they have something else they're looking to replace, how do they buy or license the NetApp Veeam solution?
Absolutely. So you can go to either veeam.com or netapp.com and contact your local Veeam or NetApp resellers or NetApp sellers right from our website. Just issue an inquiry. Someone will get in touch with you and take you through all of the options for purchasing Veeam and NetApp solutions together. So you can either contact NetApp first or Veeam first. We of course are partners. We're alliance partners. You can contact either one of us first, and we will bring in all of the relevant parties to make sure we craft a perfect solution for your organization jointly. Excellent.
And we had another question about doing a POC. Is that kind of the same answer there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Veeam. So we're a software. Yeah, I mean, we're a software only company. I think we're probably one of the most open companies out there. We've got free products. You could actually do your own POC just by going to veeam.com and downloading our products. Everything comes with a fully functional trial license. You can actually, through our veeam.com, you can actually get in touch with one of our engineers, and we can actually do a POC with you, hold your hand, and actually test everything in your environment on your data, so you can see how it works for you, right? Because everything works really well in somebody else's lab or in some pre-crafted, pre-controlled, recorded webinar. But you really want to see these tools in action in your capabilities. And NetApp has cloud native capabilities as well, where you can do instant POCs. You want to talk about that just for a second, Kevin?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can deploy ONTAP, whether it's in the physical array virtually, or you can deploy it in cloud at the same time. You can download all of this, and then also if you don't want to download and run it that way, we have our own POC. We have our own lab that you can leverage the gear within it. So we have all sorts of gear out there that you can give specs, and we can put that together and let you drive. So there's all sorts of ways that you can consume both Veeam and NetApp together to make it work for you.
Yeah, customer proof of concept lab in North Carolina, right?
You got it. Go CPOC.
Yep, that's where we've got full hardware implementations of everything in our portfolios. If you ever want to see something really at scale, but you want to leverage our hardware, we're absolutely willing to do that as well. So we make it pretty easy to do any of those PLCs.
Nice. And I know you talked about this during the event, but there's a question here about, someone who has, say, an existing storage array out there, and maybe they're backing it up with Veeam. What makes the NetApp and Veeam partnership so unique as compared to other, Veeam just in any old storage array.
So great question, and we get this one all the time. Why does it matter that Veeam and NetApp are alliance partners? And it really comes down to, number one, you got two industry leaders coming together to actually do joint development work. We're crafting unique capabilities that don't exist with any other storage and solution partners out there. Seeing is believing. So when we talk about things like managing NetApp's hardware-based SnapMirror and SnapVault replication, right? That doesn't exist in any other storage platform, and you're getting the best of breed solution there, and the best, with full capabilities, and I hate using this term, but single pane of glass management capabilities. And we're making technologies like NetApp FlexClone technology consumable by giving you capabilities like instant VM recovery, data labs based on NetApp FlexClone technology. So we're taking these technologies that are unique to NetApp, that are patented industry-leading technologies, and making them consumable with Veeam for applications and use cases that wouldn't exist without a Veeam and NetApp integrated solution. So there's just a couple of examples of capabilities that we're bringing together jointly that that don't exist outside of this alliance.
To that point, feedback is a gift. We take the feedback that we get from our customers. We both take that feedback very seriously, and then we look at ways to incorporate that feedback into our own development for our own solutions.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great to take customer feedback and keep improving, constant never-ending improvement. I think that's what the most successful companies in the world do. And it's great to hear how you all do that at NetApp and Veeam as well. Let's see, there's a number of other questions coming in. Adam or Kevin, I'm not sure if you see any that catch your eye that we have time for.
A couple of ones. Quick one I saw in here. Someone I think asked, "Is Veeam just for virtual infrastructure?" The answer is absolutely not. Completely compliant with any physical infrastructure that you have, and that means even architectures like Solaris are fully supported. Cloud native, of course. So that means native Azure and VMware. I'm sorry, native Azure and AWS workloads. We've got cloud native capabilities there. So. We're not just your traditional virtualized data protection company anymore. We've got a full capabilities around data wherever it resides.
Okay. Excellent.
And one last one here I see, unless I missed another one here. Let's see. Is basically the question is here is Veeam approved for Department of Defense or DoD sector? And the answer is absolutely 100%. We're fully FIPS compliant. We've got a federal team dedicated to U.S. federal government at Veeam, and I guess NetApp is famous for their federal business. So yes, of course, jointly working together in the federal space is 100% a go with Veeam.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's all the time we have on today's event. But Kevin and Adam, it's been really great having you on. Thank you so much for your presentation.
It was a pleasure. Thanks to everyone for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And thank you to NetApp and Veeam for supporting today's event. If you haven't answered the poll question on the screen in the slides window, I encourage you to do that now while I'm announcing the winner of today's Amazon $300 gift card prize. That's going to Philip Dana from California. Congratulations. Philip Dana from California will reach out to you to deliver that prize. I also want to remind you about the handouts that are available there in the handouts tab. You have the link to the Veeam trial, the IDC white paper on the Veeam and NetApp solution, and of course today's presentation in PDF. You can download those all right now. Again, thank you to our presenters, and thank you to our audience for supporting us and joining today's event. Hope that you learned a lot and had a good time. I know that I did. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.